You think you got phobias? Well, time for you to put that to the test. Today we see if it is indeed fact or cap. That's right, today we're exploring more phobias and how they pertain to Poppy Playtime. This is the top 10 scary phobias Poppy Playtime will trigger. Let's do it. And at 10, chromophobia. With a game that's full of bright colors and based around a factory that makes children's toys, it's fairly obvious that running into colors is guaranteed. While there are specific fears for specific colors, cyanophobia being the fear of blue, xanthophobia being the fear of yellow, parysnophobia being fear of green, chrysnophobia is the fear of orange, rhodophobia is fear of pink, castanophobia is the fear of brown, leukophobia is the fear of white, and melanophobia is the fear of black. But with all the different colors in the first chapter and upcoming second chapter, we're gonna be in for one hell of a time if you're in fact scared of colors. I mean, like the grab pack has different colored hands, and those colors are an important part of the puzzles that use said grab pack. So playing with the saturation down or in black and white would be pretty damn difficult. Also, random question, could someone who is colorblind have, like, let's say the fear of yellow, but since they would see red as yellow, would they really be scared of yellow? Or since the doctor is the one diagnosing them and seeing that they're scared of red, would they be diagnosed as scared of red? Let me know your thoughts, cause my brain is mush. And at 9, puppophobia. The fear of puppets, also known as puppophobia, is associated with human-like dolls a la Chucky or Annabelle. So, if you want to make an allegory like that, Poppy would definitely cause this fear to be triggered. And not only that, but literally this entire game revolves around humans turned into dolls and toys, which would be a major trigger with those with puppophobia. Major trigger? Especially since, you know, they're sentient dolls, which is literally the fear. Like if Shane Topp was wigging out in a room full of porcelain dolls in that one Smosh video, I'm sure this man would flip his shit. Being in a room with dolls that are very clearly sentient and also after your guts. Like holy living crap, I thought FNAF would be a trigger for puppophobia because, you know, the puppet, but this game is so much worse for it, or at least it seems like it would be. And at 8, necrophobia. Again, I feel the need to clarify I said necrophobia, as in the fear of death, not attraction to it. So, considering how the main threat in Poppy Playtime is death, I think it's fairly safe to say that those who fear death wouldn't enjoy this at all. I mean, of course, most of us dislike the concept of death, but not wanting to die and having an actual phobia of death are very different things. And there is a lot of death in this game, especially when you're panicking because a giant blue furry Gumby reject is chasing you. So much death, in fact, that the game actually gives you messages when you die, confirming the fact that you are actually dead. Not to mention the countless other people who died due to 1006 escaping or died to become toys. And while that isn't literal death because they are kind of organic toys, it is the death of their human body. However, as I usually say, this death isn't real, so it could just be that you're not scared of it at all. So if that's the case, ignore this number and pretend I said something profound and meaningful, along with hit like and subscribe. And at 7, hemophobia. Now, there may not be much blood in this game, but for those with hemophobia, the fear of blood, a little is more than enough. Especially with Huggy bashing his head on the way down and the various seemingly dried bloodstains along the ground and walls while you play through chapter 1. This is certainly going to be a fun time. However, I think the worst part would be looking at the pipe that Huggy hits his head on the way down after we destroyed the catwalk when he was chasing us. Because let's be real here, that's pretty gnarly. Even if it is just a puddle, I mean, like, we thought this thing was a toy, then all of a sudden it's bleeding? Hemophobia is the fear of blood, wounds, and injuries. Hemophobia is categorized by the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual as a blood injection injury phobia. This subtype, which also includes trypanophobia, which is the fear of needles, is kind of normal. Like, having an aversion to blood is natural. And in fact, horror movies and horror games often prey on our discomfort by showing large quantities of fake blood to inspire fear and unease in their audience. However, hemophobia causes much more than discomfort. It can cause symptoms that are also not frequently seen in other types of specific phobias as well. And at 6, dystachyphobia. Dystachyphobia encompasses a fear of all forms of physical accidents, including those that occur in the home, the workplace, public spaces, and roadways. A person with this phobia fears accidents above all, which includes the consequences of said accidents, such as harm to themselves and or others. And the whole Poppy Playtime fun house factory thing seems to be about as safe as Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. This phobia is often seen in a person who has been in a serious or near fatal accident in the past, and in some cases the phobia can be triggered by an accident involving someone else, such as a friend or a family member. And I mean, how is this factory not just one seemingly giant accident waiting to happen? Open conveyor belts, power puzzles waiting for anyone without a grab pack just to get shocked, probably to death. I don't know, giant children's toys running around eating every single possible thing it can, especially living things. Yeah, seems pretty accident prone to me. Like damn, I don't even fear accidents and I can sense how slippery this floor is. And then, to escape Huggy, we run along conveyor belts, for God's sake. Like that would be horrific. Halfway through, into number 5, scopophobia. Scopophobia, also known as scopophobia, is the fear of being stared at or watched. It varies in severity from person to person, obviously, but some people are afraid only when a stranger stares at them for a long period of time, while others fear even passing eye contact with a friend. But it's the fear of being watched thing that I want to focus on, since thanks to Terrico, we know that there are multiple instances of Huggy scaring us before we actually get killed by him, as well as other instances of him being in a separate area while watching us, like when we first entered the conveyor belt system, because, you know, he runs in front of us. However, one of the freakiest things that hardly anyone seemed to notice was when you enter the room where you find the 4 colored cubes. This room doesn't really have all that much to it aside from a simple search and grab task, and then you get the second grab pack hand, but as you enter the room after gathering all the batteries, with the exception of the blue one and then going back up the stairs, you can actually see Huggy watching you from one of the conveyor belt doors before it slams closed after a second or two. It's something that nobody seemed to pick up on in their first playthrough, and something that I don't even think MatPat noticed. But if you do notice, and you have scopophobia, I'm sorry. And at 4, megalophobia. Megalophobia is a type of anxiety disorder in which a person experiences intense fear of large objects. A person with megalophobia experiences intense fear and anxiety when they think of or are around large objects such as large buildings, statues, animals, and vehicles. And I mean, the main antagonist of not only Chapter 1 but Chapter 2 are also pretty damn big characters. I mean, Huggy is already like 100 times the size of the normal Huggy dolls, and Mommy Longlegs has arms that seemingly go on for miles, in a literal sense, not like in a complimentary sense. Like damn, those legs go on for miles. No, like those things are seemingly at least a mile long each, or 1.6 kilometers for the rest of the world. Which makes sense, I mean her name is Mommy Longlegs, but come on, those are damn big. And combine this with any of the other fears on this list and you'd probably just be unable to play this game at all. It wouldn't seem possible in my eyes. Getting close to the end, in number 3, claustrophobia. Claustrophobia, as we all know, is the fear of Santa Claus. Thanks to SpongeBob for teaching me that as a kid. Seriously though, the fear of small spaces is certainly going to get triggered in Chapter 1, since as I've mentioned multiple times in this video, we end up running through the conveyor belt area, which is very cramped. So cramped in fact that Huggy has to like force himself into it and then crawl through it like a kid in a McDonald's play place. My father is a self-diagnosed claustrophobic and he doesn't even like going down the stairs in his house because the walls are too close. So he would 100% hate this section with a passion. However, now that I mentioned that, he is also paranoid, thinking that the government is after him and thinks that people will steal my identity through my name on a school assignment from 2009, so maybe that isn't the best example, but still, boy, do I wish I was exaggerating. Like everyone has like the weird conspiracy theorist uncle, but I don't, because that uncle is my dad, and not in the Alabama way, you sickos. But ultimately, in at number 2, arachnophobia. Arachnophobia is the fear of spiders, and while in something like every fantasy game ever there are giant spiders, that's not really a thing in Poppy Playtime, right? Well, that was true, but along comes Chapter 2, and in comes Mommy Longlegs, probably the most confusing spider-like figure I've ever seen. And trust me, I've seen some things, okay? Skyrim modding is an interesting rabbit hole. However, this Mommy Longlegs is gonna be one hell of an interaction if you have severe cases of arachnophobia. However, with milder cases such as mine, I think you should be okay. I mean, the only reason she looks like a spider is the multiple legs. Like, she doesn't really look like a real spider other than that, which makes it easier to handle. Like with DJ Music Man from Security Breach. Like, that guy didn't set off any arachnophobic alarms in my body, which is certainly a good thing because I don't like being scared, especially by a phobia. Like, being scared is a bad thing. I don't know why people would search it out. Like, fear means that you're in danger, and being in danger is bad. Adrenaline junkies are one thing, but actually being scared is another, I think. I don't know, okay? I don't have friends who go out and do fun stuff, so I just chill at home. If I ever get accused of murder, I'm gonna have no alibi. Because my dog can't write. He can't corroborate my story. And finally, in at number 1, Doraphobia. Doraphobia is unfortunately not the fear of Spanish or football-headed animated children. Instead, it's the fear of fur. But as I mentioned earlier in this list, the main antagonist of Chapter 1, Huggy Wuggy, is covered in fur and is absolutely massive. Not to mention the group of Huggies that we're going to be chased by in Chapter 2, multiplying our fur problem by 5. So needless to say, if you have a fear of fur, then you may want to avoid Poppy Playtime. Unless, again, it's just the fear of real life physical fur instead of animated video game fur, in which case it won't really be triggered. But like, how am I supposed to know this, right? How am I supposed to see something like this Huggy doll and think, oh yeah, he won't trigger it, or he will trigger it? Like, I don't have these phobias for the most part, alright? Like, I don't understand. This whole list should be taken with a grain of salt. However, if you legitimately have any of these fears that I've listed today, be sure you let me know in the comments if it actually triggers it, because I really want to know. And we've been making a load of these types of videos lately, so it would really be beneficial to know what will and won't be set off by a computer game. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna change. I'm still gonna talk about the fears even if they won't be set off, but like, it's good to know. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Showerman Con Monroe, and I'll see you in another video. Follow me on Instagram. Fuck. That didn't do anything. Some dude just walked along the roof out the window. What the was that? That was very distracting.